Happy Sabbath, YouTube, and Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, Leafs versus Montreal. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yes. Just a couple weeks ago, we had this matchup in Montreal. Now it was in Toronto. And let's just say it didn't get off to the greatest start last night. The Leafs looked not great. Freddie looked a little shaky. And the Habs jumped out to a 3-0 first period lead. I've mentioned it a couple times, both when the Leafs had a piss poor performance against the Coyotes in Arizona recently, and then the Habs game before that, the one that was in Montreal that I mentioned earlier. The way teams can limit the Leafs' game plan is by strong forechecking and using speed against them to limit their time and space. That's always the thing you hear, but it works against them, at least temporarily anyways, until they can adjust to it. But that's what Montreal does. They're not a great team, but they're fast, and they can use that to throw a monkey wrench in the Leafs' plans, which they've done a couple times. But the Leafs, to give them credit, they fought through it. In the second period, they didn't give up. In the second period, they came out, they scored 2 power play goals. Matthews a couple minutes in, and then Ennis with a couple minutes remaining in the second, to cut it to 3-2, and heading into the third, not bad after what looked like a disastrous beginning to the game. In the third period, the Leafs got a bit of luck when a dump-in hit something along the boards in the corner, and Price was going out to play it, and it bounced kind of right out in front in this big jumble, and Nylander was the guy to pick it out of the pile and roof it. So early on, it was 3-3. And then with just a couple minutes remaining, Hyman stunned the Habs when he scored and put the Leafs up 4-3 for their first lead of the game. Their second third period comeback of the season only, and their first comeback of a 3-goal deficit since I think 2010 or something like that, which is actually kind of surprising because over the last few seasons they've been really good. Other than this year, they've been really good at if they get down, coming back in the third. So I found that kind of a surprising stat that they haven't come back against a 3-goal deficit in like 9 years. But anyways, they did it, and then in the final minute of the game, the Habs pulled their goalie, and the Leafs potted 2 empty netters to make it 6-3. Oh, it was priceless. I love seeing disappointment and frustration and depression on the face of those idiots. And all game long, Domi was trying to go at Janssen for some reason, like the nicest guy on the Leafs, but Domi singled him out and was trying to give him the gears. And of course, Andrew Shaw and Brian Gallagher are being little weasels as usual. But it made no difference, because they're also tiny little insignificant specks. And the Leafs just were like, okay, we're going to play hockey now and win the game. And that's what they did. So that's 3 games this year, 3 wins against the Habs, and a couple of them went to overtime. Not this one, although it looked like it could have. But yeah, I can't wait for the playoffs. I really hope they get matched up in the first round. I'd like the Leafs to play Boston just to see if they can finally beat them and exercise some demons. But I'm also sick of them, and I'm sick of them losing to them. So I'd really like to see a Montreal-Toronto series. I think that would be exciting for so many reasons, and I don't think it's happened since the Leafs' last Stanley Cup runs in the 60s, maybe even the last one in 67. So it's been a long time. So yeah, that'd be nice. Fingers crossed. Right now, I'm just hoping that they still manage to hang on to some sort of top playoff positioning, because the way the standings are working now, any little losing streak teams go on nowadays, or winning streak, it always seems to alter things so much more at the end of the year when the crunch time is coming than it does at the start of the year. So it's so weird. But anyways, the Leafs are they're battling, and they're not letting the losing streaks pile up, and that's all we can ask as the dregs of the season approach, and they're without Kadri and still trying to sort through some things. But last night was a great performance outside of the first period, and I can't wait to see what the next game brings. And until then, have a great week.